We're live.
Hello, everyone. Welcome in. We'll give everyone like a couple minutes to come on in, but as we're waiting, we'll kind of start introducing ourselves. If you're not familiar with YouTube Live, the chat thing is on the right side, typically. Use the chat as much as you'd like. We'll be kind of using that for Q&A. So if you have questions as we go, pop them in there. We'll make sure to get back to them. If you have fun stuff to say, add it in there too. So it's going to be a fun, casual event. So come as you are, you know?
Yeah.
What time is it right now? It's 4:00 on the dot.
Yeah, we started on time. No technical difficulties this time. This is number 2. Anyone who has had a history of watching Level Up Tutorials live streams know that the audio typically does not work right off the bat, or the resolution's wrong, or our chat last time, like right as we were about to click live, the Discord chat just like crashed. So I say this is already a success.
I know. I think we should just end it here because it's only going to go downhill. No, we're on a good streak. So yeah, welcome. So this is the Supabase course drop party. The course is live now, which we haven't really said to anyone, but it's out there. It's ready to go. Hope people are already kind of enjoying it if they've gotten the chance to see it. But we have the author here, Jon Meyers. Let's get into it. I'll introduce myself first, and then I'll introduce Jon. Everyone knows Scott already, so we'll just go over.
You can skip me out. Yeah.
We'll skip him. I'm Kaitlin Bloom. I'm the director of marketing here at Level Up Tutorials. I started back in the fall, so if you see me marketing things and emails and ads and other social media stuff, it's probably from me. So if it's annoying, come to me. If you're loving it, you can also come to me. But yeah, that's what's been happening now. So if you see people bragging about Scott on Twitter, it's not him.
It's not me. Yeah, it's not me bragging about me. Yeah,
it's me bragging about him. But that's fun to think about too. But yes, we're here to kind of talk with Jon Meyers. I'll do a little intro on you. He's a software engineer, educator, and hip hop producer, which you guys are going to see some of that later, not at this event, but we've got some cool stuff in the pipeline. He's from Australia, also fun, cool accents, kangaroos.
Our second creator from Australia, which honestly, that's pretty amazing. Yeah, I think
you like your Australians.
Yeah, I know, it's amazing. Yeah, shout out to Amy Kaepernick. Yeah.
I think that we should just move the company over to Australia.
Yeah. Well, if we could get rid of those, what are they? The huntsman spiders, those giant spiders. Oh. Those are the ones that I'm not into. No thanks.
No. Huntsmans are the ones that aren't poisonous.
I know, but they're big. They're big.
They are big. Actually, I actually had one in here the other day, so I thought I could quickly pan to a giant huntsman just to show you how Australian this office is. But he's gone, which means he's somewhere.
Yeah, that wouldn't fly for me. That's not good.
They're much scarier spiders. Yeah, and much scarier snakes.
All right. So beyond that, he's passionate about web development and enabling others to do amazing things. So that is why he's here, being an educator for Level Up Tutorials. He's currently a developer advocate for Supabase. And so he's gonna show us how awesome databases can be, right? So he has authored this course that's called Realtime Remix with Supabase. Did I say that right? Yeah.
A lot of R's.
Yes. Yeah. And in this course, he mentors us through building a full stack authenticated real-time chat application using Remix and Supabase. So let's just get into it. Is there anything that I missed about you, Jon, that you wanted to share with all of our friends?
I don't think so. I had something witty, but it's gone. I'm just on my first coffee, so the wittiness will improve as we go.
Was it maybe that it's Friday for you?
It is Friday. I'm
yeah, we in our little
Friday
pre-group.
So I'm coming to you.
Yeah,
I'm coming to you from the future, which is very exciting.
Which is hopefully we can capture some of those Friday vibes. We were saying it felt a lot like Friday in the studio over here, and then it was like, it is Friday. It actually is Friday for Jon, so that's great.
Yeah, it's 9 a.m. over here. 9 a.m. on Friday. And I feel like Friday vibes start increasing more towards the end of the day. But we've got some morning Friday vibes happening here.
Yeah. And you're running off of 3 hours of sleep because of new baby.
Yeah, that's right. We've just had a new baby. So this is my first return, my big return to tech. And we'll see how it goes on 3 hours of sleep.
You're doing great. You're doing great. So let's just jump into it. What will people learn in this course? And what are people going to build?
Yeah. So in this course, we build a real-time chat application using Remix and Supabase. And so we will learn all about how to create a Remix application from scratch. It kind of, Scott has already done an awesome course completely on Remix. And so I didn't want to go to repeat too much of the same stuff. So I think it moves a little bit more quickly with the Remix side of things. So if you're really interested in learning the nuts and bolts of Remix, I recommend checking out Scott's course on Level Up Tutorials. I think it's called Remix Level 1, maybe, or Introduction to Remix.
Remix for Everyone.
That's the one.
Mm-hmm.
That is
it is low. It does say Level 1 right here, though. So yeah.
Nice. And so that's an awesome course to get really familiar with Remix. And then in this one, we build a super practical example. And so we go very in depth on on all the real time side of things. And so using Supabase gives us authentication, authorization, a database. We can do file storage, which we don't really talk about in this course, and also subscribing to real-time events. And so, we can, our UI can get notified. Sorry, our UI can get notified when something in the database changes, and then we can update that in our Remix application, which is super exciting. But yeah, you'll learn heaps about database schemas, storing data across tables, querying, mutating that data, subscribing to real-time events, authentication, authorization, all the things, lots and lots of things about Supabase and Remix.
Great. All really important stuff.
Yeah.
So let's dig a little bit deeper into Supabase. What is it? Why do you love it? Why do you think it's cool? Why should other people care about it?
Yeah. So Supabase is the open source alternative to Firebase, is how it's sort of marketed. And so if you ever used Firebase, it has a very awesome developer experience. It's really easy to get up and running with a project. But eventually you might hit some scaling issues with using that kind of file store database, or something that has limited reads and writes that you can do concurrently. And so a very easy solution to that is to use a relational database. So something that's built to withstand that kind of scale. And so Supabase kind of groups together a collection of different convenience tools that you need to build applications. So you have a database to store just kind of row level data, a regular kind of Postgres database. It has authentication, so you can sign your users in, sign them out, register new users. We do authorization using row level policies and row level security, which is something in Postgres. Sorry. We have file storage, so the ability to store some files. We have some secret new things coming, so maybe you should keep your eye on Supabase this week, because this week we have released or are releasing, what day is it? May have released. We'll see. But we might be doing something about some functions, maybe something possibly. And so, yes, Supabase kind of groups together all these different tools and allows you to quickly build an application. So it does all the kind of heavy lifting of building your backend. So you can just focus on building a super cool client with something like Remix.
Yeah. So for those of you who have never heard of Firebase, you could say concisely what that Supabase is: the database, it's the authentication piece, it's the storage piece, and it is, according to the site now, edge functions. So, yep.
Secrets.
There
big
you
secrets,
go.
Big reveals.
Yeah, it is launch week. So
that's right. So this week is actually a special week for Supabase. We've been launching a new feature every day of this week, and so there has been heaps of cool stuff that's come out. And one of those things this week is serverless edge functions. So we don't talk about this in the course because it's only just come out. But yes, very cool thing to go and check out, that now you can write those kinds of serverless functions like you would write with API routes or your server-side logic in SvelteKit or something like that. You can now create those functions directly in your Supabase instance, which is very cool.
Who writes these blog posts, by the way, that are up on there's like Ninja Turtles images, and the image usage is hilarious here. There's like the Fantastic Four and the Beatles.
So yeah, Supabase is
Paul wrote this.
Yeah, if you're following along, sorry, my video has paused for some reason. Let's just fix that. There we go. The Paul and Ant, the two co-founders of Supabase, write a lot of the blogs, and then usually with launch week, we try and get the person who focused on that kind of feature, or the few people that focused on it, to write a nice big blog post about the inspiration behind it and a little bit about how to use it. But
nice.
Paul and Ant usually write most of this stuff. Ant does all the fantastic meme-age that you might see if you're a fan of Supabase. Basically, we do like a little bit of tech and then like a whole bunch of memes, and all of that is Ant Wilson, our co-founder and CTO.
Nice.
So, lots of good meme.
That's super fun. How long have you worked for Supabase?
It hasn't actually been that long. I think it's only been about 7 months, and so I was completely brand new to Supabase, or I guess Supabase is fairly new, so I hadn't been around that long before that, maybe a couple of years. But I had used Supabase. Actually, the reason that I got involved was I created an in-depth case study for Egghead about creating a SaaS product using I was using Next.js, I think Netlify, Stripe, and Prisma. And I had said in the I used Supabase just to host a database instance, and so just as clickbaity stuff, I said it also uses Supabase, because I basically am just wasting their resources hosting a database that I'm then using Prisma to connect to. And the community around Supabase, they got real angry at me. They were chasing me down. They were asking me in public to explain how I've actually used Supabase, because I'm not using it here, and I'm not using it to its full potential and stuff. And I was like, man, this community is fierce. They love this product. And so when the opportunity came up to work for Supabase as a developer advocate, I just jumped at that straight away, because the community around it is just so keen about Supabase, ready to go to war for Supabase. I say that.
Which, I mean, it makes sense to me, because even the Firebase community was really intense, but that's not an open source project. That's their Google owned project that, again, once you build your whole business on it, then you're going to be paying for that for the rest of your business's life. So it makes a lot of sense that it would go from one passionate kind of project to one that seems to evolve upon another one, right? So yeah, totally. Also one with such good branding and logo and all that stuff.
Yeah, that's right. That's one of the big things about Supabase as well. One of the big, I guess, benefits of Supabase over something like Firebase is that yes, it is open source, as you just said. And so you can fork the whole project and build your own stuff on top of it if you would like. You can build features that you want to see in it if your business is really, or your side project really relies on a particular thing being there that's not. You can take that source code, add your stuff, commit it back to the project if you want. But also, it means that if Supabase does happen to collapse or not succeed in the future, that you have all of the stuff. All of the stuff is open source, so you have all of that code yourself. And also because it is just actually a wrapper of convenience functions around a Postgres database, we try to make that as obvious as possible, and try and give you as much access, or we do give you direct access to the underlying database. And so if something awful were to happen, and I was off unemployed, you would still be employed with your database that you could just dump from Supabase and then go and host anywhere that you want.
And that's huge. I mean, that's huge for confidence on building on top of anything. The last thing you want to get stuck with is some proprietary black box that you can't break open.
Yeah, that's right.
Awesome. All right. So how did you choose to do the course on the topics that you did specifically? We obviously know why you chose Supabase, but like, how did you, choose to pull in Remix? Can you give us a little bit more information on how you really chose these topics that you covered in the course?
Yeah, for sure. Well, I mean, initially I was keen to just build something for Level Up tutorials, going back to when I first learnt to code. Level Up tutorials was a big part of that, and it's always been a platform that I've really liked, and Scott's kind of way of teaching and delivering content is just awesome, and really clicked with me, and so that's always been a big goal of mine, is to as I moved into kind of developer advocacy and creating courses and things, Level Up tutorials was always one of those big targets of mine, and so when I got the opportunity to build this course, I was keen to build something with Supabase, but then looking at what framework I could use to build the application. A lot of the stuff that I've built previously has been in Next.js, so that's probably what I have the most experience in. And so it was a really good opportunity, with Remix being so fresh, to really jump into an example with a more in-depth example, because looking at the kinds of resources that were available for Remix, because it's so new, a lot of them are quite simple and just the kind of hello world, or not hello world, but the building your own developer blog or to-do app version of a fairly basic application, and so introducing not only what you need to, the content that you need to load on first render, but needing to update that content dynamically anytime a user adds a new message. So with our real-time chat application example, Remix was a really interesting one to jump into, because there wasn't really those examples that existed. And so I wanted to build that example. And so I think that's what this course does really well, is show you a more complex application using Remix and Supabase. So yeah, Remix is very cool, and I really enjoyed building with it. And it's fit for purpose. This is it's an awesome framework to build a real-time chat application with.
My experience with Remix was very similar, where it felt really nice to use, and I was kind of I left using Remix feeling like there's a lot of features that I wished would be ported over to other things, whether that would be Next.js or SvelteKit like we use for Level Up tutorials. So me personally, Remix is really fun to work in, I think, as like a developer experience overall, which with a name like Remix and a name like Supabase, it's going to be fun. At least it's going to be fun saying the words.
At least it's going to be fun.
Yeah. Hey, so Jon, and everyone watching, for some reason, I think our Zoom is confused. It's saying that the host needs to be a paid member. We're paid members. So I am going to very quickly and very temporarily switch the Zoom over. So you're going to see our little faces drop off here for a second, and then we'll pop back up almost immediately. So hang tight 1 second as we just fire up another Zoom, because I don't know what's going on here, but we got to get around this time limit. So just 1 second, I'll be right back. And actually, I'll put this on right here. So maybe we can get a little course preview while we're gone here. I don't know if this is going to work with the audio, but all right, 1 second.
Perfect.
All right, Kaitlin's back.
We're back.
And I sent it to Jon. So Jon should be back. Sorry, everyone. I thought we had this figured out. It was funny. We didn't have anything about saying that it was going to end until we got that little ping. And then I was like, oh, wait, everyone can see that the ping is showing what time that the stream's going to end. So,
yep, the fun stuff here. All right.
Yeah, Jon's back. Cool.
We're all here. All right.
Nice.
We're back.
All right, Kaitlin's back.
Yeah.
We're back.
That was pretty smooth.
And I sent it to Jon.
Oh.
I think you're unmuted.
Okay, we're good. I was like, what's happening?
Cool.
Wow. Thank you everyone for being patient. Let's just jump right back into it. So Jon, what are the benefits of really knowing these tools? I mean, both Remix and Supabase. What are some of the real world applications for developers that are wanting to get into this?
Yeah. So I guess I'll look at them separately. So Supabase is basically just abstracting away a whole backend. So all of those bits that I mentioned earlier. Database storage, authentication, authorization, real-time, and database storage. And file storage. With those kinds of core pieces, and now serverless edge functions, you can basically build any application you want. Like that kind of is not very limiting in the things that you can build. So Supabase is an awesome tool to build anything from just like a to-do app if you really want, all the way through to something more complex. You also, because it's a Postgres database, you have access to Postgres functions, which are we now have cloud functions which can be in your Supabase instance, but Postgres functions can live in your Postgres database itself. There's a lot of very powerful things that you can do because you've got a relational database. You can subscribe Postgres functions to run whenever data in your database changes. So you can set up what's called a trigger in the database world to listen to particular tables for changes. And then anytime, for example, you get a new chat message, you could have a Postgres function that goes and charges a customer in Stripe if you want to charge your customers for every message they send. Something like that, which is...
that would be dastardly.
That's right. So Supabase is basically anything that you need a backend for, which is most applications. Remix is also fit to build basically any application you want, and so Remix is really focused on kind of creating a really nice integration between that first load of your data and rendering your application for the user to see something useful the first time you load the app. So going and fetching whatever resources you need and kind of rendering out your page on the server so you have something meaningful and not just a loading spinner that you're sending back to the user. They've really kind of optimized that workflow. So it's really nice as a developer having some stuff that you're running on the server and some stuff that you're running on the client, and really kind of like reducing the complexity between the gap between those two. So making it less, you don't need to think so much about that network layer of how do I run this on the server and then get it to the client, and does the client have it, or do I need to render a loading spinner? All of that kind of data fetching logic is really well optimized, which is really great for Supabase because Supabase is hosting all of your data. So if you need to fetch all of that data before you render your application, then they kind of go hand in hand.
Yeah, and that's always been my opinion, like a pain point of working in React is you start to render the thing, you tell the thing to go get the data, then it has to go get the data, then you have to wait for it, then you have to display it. But, being able to connect in a way like Remix enables you is just makes the whole process that much smoother. So, yeah. Love helpers. Love that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
Good
for sure.
Stuff. So to tie it all together, Jon, why should people take this course? Why should people be interested in this?
People should take this course because It's awesome. No, people should take this course because, it goes really nicely in depth to a nice level. So it doesn't just throw you in the deep end. Obviously, it's a nice meaty course. There's 24 lessons or something like that, somewhere in the
23
low mid 20s, and so that's a really good number of topics to jump into, and so you get a really good understanding of Supabase and what kinds of problems Supabase is solving. It doesn't just kind of brush over things and just tell you a bunch of commands to run. There's lots of kind of in-depth explanation as to how this stuff actually works. And yeah, it's from what I've seen, it's the most in-depth example with Remix that's handling not only that first kind of load of your data from the server, but also handling that kind of merging of complex state with things that are changing in real time. So as a user is typing a new message, you're able to update your UI with your Remix application. And so, yeah, this is the first example that I've seen that kind of goes that in depth into a real-time example with things changing constantly.
Yeah, I haven't seen anything real time other than this on Remix. So yeah, it's always a topic that, I used to work a lot in Meteor, which is like all real time. So real time to me is one of those things that has been greatly underutilized, I think, in more recent development, especially since Meteor has not been used that much anymore. So yeah, I love me some real time stuff. So this is a really exciting one for me.
Yeah, I think all that kind of WebSockety real-time stuff where your UI is being notified anytime data in the database changes. I feel like there was a little bit of a lull of that when we kind of moved over to serverless stuff, and so hosting things all in serverless functions that were very short running is super awesome for the efficiency of not needing to both money efficiency and also computing power efficiency, not needing to have these long running servers there all the time. And so, yeah, it's really nice to, like, this app is hosted on Vercel. So it is all hosted in serverless functions, but because we have Supabase for subscribing to those real-time events, it's kind of like we have a long-running server that can tell us when something changes, because we can subscribe to those changes from Supabase.
Yeah.
It's very cool.
Yeah, very cool.
I'm sold.
Kaitlin will be taking the course.
Yeah,
I'll take the course. Definitely
live now.
I'm ready.
Just head to leveluptutorials.com.
Perfect. So to kind of put the cherry on top of this, and although this might be redundant, who is this course good for? Who do you recommend it for?
Yeah, so I think it's good for anyone who's new to web development. And so it, as I said before, it doesn't throw you in the deep end. We step through from a completely empty project. So we don't start with anything. We start running the first command to create a Remix application. We go through the UI of Supabase to create your first project with Supabase. So you don't need any experience with either of those two things. It does move fairly quickly, I guess, with the React side of things, because Remix is a framework that sits on top of React. So it probably assumes a little bit of knowledge with React. So I recommend if anyone is new to React, that maybe they take another one of maybe something called React for Everybody.
That's what it's called.
By Scott Tolinski.
Yeah, that is what it's called. Here we go.
That would be a great place to start and get familiar with Remix, with React. But other than some assumed knowledge about React, maybe a little bit of assumed knowledge about web development, this is an awesome course for anyone that is fairly new to any of that. So a little bit of experience with React, but definitely anyone who is new to Remix or Supabase. This is, a really good resource for learning those from scratch.
Beautiful. Sounds good to me. All right. Those are the questions I have for you, Jon. Scott, do you have anything for Jon right off the bat?
I don't. No.
Anything about Australia?
Yeah, we had a long conversation about marsupials before.
We did.
If anybody in the chat can identify a marsupial that does not live that lives in let's say North America. Let's say a marsupial in North America. We couldn't think of any. That'd be fun. But no, I don't have any. I don't have any additional questions. No.
Okay, great. Let's move to Q&A from the audience. We'll make sure. I think it looks like, Scott, you were pretty good at going through and answering things as needed, but there's probably a few in there still. But if not, add your questions now. And while you guys are doing that, I am going to drop a link into the chat that is it's like 3 questions. It's like a survey, but it's not. This is basically like a raffle. You get entered into winning a free month of Level Up Pro for just being here, you guys. And who doesn't love free stuff?
Yeah, we have hundreds of courses on Level Up Tutorials and a new one every single month. So you would get access to the entire catalog, download, watch, all that stuff. Lots of good stuff in here.
Let me pop it in.
One question that was asked in the chat, it was also answered in the chat, but I want to give people who aren't a part of the chat to get the answer to this. Is Supabase self-hosted, or can it be self-hosted?
Yes, so it can be self-hosted. So we have a really good guide on the docs site. So if I go to supabase.com/docs, we have a local getting started with local development guide. And so this will step you through how to install your own, it uses Docker under the hood. So how to get Docker running on your local machine, and then how to create your local Supabase instance. And so this scales up all the things that are in your hosted Supabase instance. So you get your database, your Postgres database. And I'm not sure if it's changed recently. It used to not be the dashboard because we hadn't open sourced the dashboard yet. But it may include that now. But yeah, there's a guide for local development on the Supabase docs. And then if you don't want to go through that hassle yourself, then we have then Supabase is obviously a hosted instance by default. So if you go to the supabase.com and click start your project or something up in the top right, then you'll be able to create a hosted Supabase instance. And so there you just authenticate with GitHub. It'll create an account for you. And then you create your first project, and that goes and scales up all that infrastructure for you. So all of the database storage, file storage, and the real-time server that's running that you can subscribe to changes for. All that stuff lives in your hosted instance. But if you'd like to run it yourself locally, you can do that, and then you can take that and host it anywhere you want. So AWS or wherever.
All right. Here's a question from Rob. What kind of projects would Supabase not be suitable for?
That's a good question.
Yeah, I know. Those ones are always tough.
Yeah. I think maybe currently it might not be great for building a game or something like that needs to subscribe to, I'm thinking a first person shooter where you're or something where you're in a networked game with people all over the world, and you need to respond to things on both sides very, very, very quickly. Because there's a lot of infrastructure that it needs to run through for, let's say that you move your character forward, you need to then update your database with the new location of that user. And so that's got to go from your UI across to Postgres, write it to Postgres, and then the real-time server is listening to changes in Postgres and then sending it out to any other client that's subscribed to changing events there. So that needs to run through a few servers and would have a bit of a little bit of latency. So yeah, anything that's to the millisecond kind of
latency critical,
accuracy, might not be ideal, but anything that that it doesn't matter if it's lagging 500 milliseconds behind or something like that. So like a chat application or something where it's not it's not mission critical, people's lives don't depend on it, then this would be a great solution.
Cool. All right. Let's see.
There was one a little bit further up that seems a little bit related to this question. This is from Carl. I don't think you answered it yet, Scott.
Hi, Carl.
Would you also use Supabase for large, complex projects? What about long-term updates, etc., for a finished app?
Yeah. So we have some big applications built on Supabase. If you want to check out some things that are made with Supabase, you can head to madewithsupabase.com, which is a project that started as actually a hackathon project by one of our community members. I've just gone there and it said that it can't load the site. What's happening?
Anyway, it's loading for me. I'll post it in the link. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, it loads for me.
Maybe I don't have any internet, which also doesn't make sense because I'm currently talking to you from the other side of the world. My browser just doesn't like me right now. That's fine. So Made with Supabase was a community project that was submitted as one of our hackathon submissions. So each time we've had a launch week so far, we've rolled the launch week into a hackathon the following week. And so encouraging our community to build some cool projects, and we give away free swag and make a big deal about the awesome projects that are created. One of the first ones was this madewithsupabase.com project, which just kind of catalogs all of the awesome projects that are built with Supabase. And so some of those are just small kind of side projects or hobby projects that people have built, and different hackathon submissions. But then there are some much more serious, in production, real life, being used by millions of people kinds of applications that are in there as well.
There's a ton of stuff here. I've never seen this site before. There's a lot of stuff. Wow.
Yeah. And some of them are just so creative. It's amazing seeing what people, like where that inspiration takes people. They get given a back end that can, do whatever. It's not really subscriptive or prescriptive, for any kind of specific app. And so seeing the amazing stuff that they build with that same kind of set of tools is just amazing.
Totally.
Yeah, it seems like people are really excited about Supabase, especially since it's such a young company.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's only been around for a couple of years, or I don't even know if it's been available to the public for 2 years. I think it's been built for 2 years, but it's amazing how thriving the community is and how keen people are for something like this. I think they really nailed a gap that existed. Yeah,
you both have children older than Supabase.
Oh wow,
that is wild.
Wild.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't trust them with my data. I would trust Supabase.
I did call I called Scott old in the last drop.
You did, yeah.
People made a big deal about it, and I was like, "This is my opportunity to do it again." To get a 3-year-old kid plus. I'll hold back.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You'll get there. Don't worry, Kaitlin. You'll get there too.
Someone snipped the 30 seconds of me calling you old and put it in the Discord channel, and it was a big deal. And I was like, sorry, I'm sorry. I didn't even mean to. Do you see any other questions in here? Do you guys have any other questions?
Someone asked if it was a Docker image, but you already mentioned that the Supabase install is a Docker. Supa Daka. Once you start omitting the R's, it's hard to bring them back.
Yeah.
Is Supabase an ORM? Would you describe it as an ORM?
Yeah. So an ORM, for anyone that is unfamiliar, is an object relational mapper. So that is something that takes your database, the way that you store the structure of your rows of data in your database, kind of mapping that to objects in your application. So if you're using something like JavaScript, then kind of mapping between an SQL schema and then a JSON object that you're going to see on the other side. So it's a way that you can kind of treat your data like it's just code in your application. And then when you need to actually, it kind of abstracts away or gives you simple helpers to do things like mutate that data. So you don't need to think about like, I need to update my user's username in the database. Okay, I need to create a new database instance and I need to inject this SQL statement. It kind of abstracts all that away. So you can say, well, I've got my user, so I'll just say user.update and then update their username to be whatever I want. And then that's just going to go and abstract away all that complexity. So Supabase does exactly that. So people might be familiar with using something like Prisma as an ORM, which is an excellent ORM. We have that kind of querying language as part of Supabase. So you can install Supabase.js and query and mutate your data with our ORM style syntax. But you can also use it with something like Prisma. So Supabase is just a hosted Postgres instance. And so you can use any other ORM that you'd like to interface with it. We give you access to all of that underlying Postgres instance and the connection string and all of that stuff.
Okay, cool. Do you guys do anything with GraphQL now as well? And this is just a side question from me, because I thought I saw something on Twitter about that, and that was a little.
This is another brand new launch week thing.
Yeah,
is we now have Postgres. We now have GraphQL included in our Supabase hosted instances. And so last launch week, which was about 3 months ago, we released a new extension called PG GraphQL. So this is something that's really cool about Supabase is when we want to build something, first we look to the open source community and see if there's something that already exists that solves that problem. And if there is, then we invest in either bringing that person on working at Supabase. So that's something that happened with Postgres with a T. So Postgr and then REST, as in it's a REST API for your Postgres database. We brought on the main contributor, the maintainer of that project, and brought them into Supabase and sponsor them they work at Supabase, but they only work on the Postgres project full time. And so that's a way that we can, contribute back to other open source projects. If we can't find a project that solves that problem out in the community, then we build it ourselves, and then we build it as an open source project that other people can use individually. So PG GraphQL was an extension that we created, an open source extension for Postgres. And then this launch week, we've done a lot of work to integrate it into our hosted Supabase instances. Because there's one of the cool things about Supabase is because we have all of that knowledge about your application, because we do authentication and authorization and storage and all of that stuff for you, we can tie these pieces together really nicely. So when you're selecting data from your database, you can know who the signed in user is that's trying to access that data. And so, all of these tools are really tightly integrated. And now that comes across to GraphQL as well. So when you're writing your GraphQL resolvers, all of that kind of who the signed in user stuff is available to you as well. It's really nice having it integrated into that kind of all integrated into the one environment where everything can know about everything else is very convenient.
Yeah, awesome.
But yes, now you can write GraphQL queries and GraphQL mutations and write GraphQL resolvers with your Supabase instance anytime you create a new project. There is now a PG GraphQL extension that you can enable for your instance.
Sick. Cool. Yeah.
Very cool. Any other questions you guys have? It can be about the course. It could be about Jon, because he's very interesting.
Did you post the link for the free month?
Yes. It's up there.
Where is it?
Do you also want to share it? Because then it'll be kind of highlighted with your level up chats. I sent it to you directly in Discord. Not directly, but in team chat. So you could also share it.
Gotcha.
But it's up there.
Cool.
Enter to win a free month of Level Up Pro.
Free month. Yeah.
That's amazing.
How many employees does Supabase have?
That's a very good question. When I started, I think it was only like 16, but we've done a lot of hiring recently. I think we have a /staff/team maybe on the supabase.com. There's something where there's a list of everyone who actually works there. Humans.txt. So if you go to supabase.com/humans.txt, you can see a very unformatted TXT version of all of the different people who work here. So it looks like there are about 30 people that work here now.
I love it.
Yeah. So it's already about doubled since I started only 7 months ago.
That's got to be
so
really
moving
exciting.
very, very quickly.
Yeah.
It is super exciting being, that's SUPA. Super exciting being a part of such a fast growing company. It's particularly challenging as a developer advocate because like things change so quickly, and I'm constantly like doing streams and things like this where I'm like, yeah, you can, or like, oh, you can't do that with your Supabase instance yet. And the person I'm talking to is like, what? I'm on the website. It says that you can do that.
I'm
like,
now. Oh,
okay, you can do that now. As of 36 minutes ago, you can now do
fast.
That.
Yeah.
So it changes very, very quickly. And so, like even joining the stream today, like I'm still technically on paternity leave. And so it's, like all this stuff that's been happening with launch week. I'm like, I was kind of there for the start of like what we were talking about. We were going to be working on for 3 months.
Yeah.
But like, I haven't played with any of it. So I just have to talk about it as if I have this in-depth knowledge about all the things that are coming out. But yeah, it's probably going to take me a month to get back on top of all of the new changes that have happened since I left.
Those are all good problems to have.
Yeah,
you know?
Absolutely.
Expanding capability, growing companies. Is it feel as intense as it felt like from the outside looking in? Are people as still like, this is it, this is my family, this is my life? Like,
I think with all these kinds of things, it seemed a lot more organized from the outside. It seemed a lot more intentional and a lot more like there was a real clear plan. The rate at which things like at which things change like right before they're released, as in like the morning before, like I think it was not the last launch week, but the launch week before, like one of the features that was coming out the day before it came out, like all of the blog posts and everything had been written. They decided to just completely scrap it and start again and rebuild it completely differently. And so like all the way up until the second that the announcement went live that it was a new feature, they were like coding it and then quickly like changing the blog to reflect the new changes. And it's definitely peeking behind the curtain. There's a lot more a lot more chaos, but it's fun chaos. It's good chaos. By the time it goes out live, usually it's pretty stable.
Good to go.
It's been tested for at least 30 seconds.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
That's so funny. Is this your first developer advocate role, or have you worked at other companies?
Yeah, I did a little bit of work with Prisma actually. So I think for 3 months I was doing developer advocacy, but as a kind of like a contractor for Prisma. And then rolled straight into Supabase. Used the 3 months of experience that I had with Prisma to say, look, I'm already a developer advocate. You should employ me as a developer advocate. I have all this experience working with Prisma. You've heard of Prisma, right? And let them kind of assume what they wanted to assume about my experience.
And look at you now.
Yeah.
You're doing great.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It worked out. I was right.
Yeah. I'm sure they love you. It's not like an Australian-based company, right? Or is it?
No, it's kind of like it is a worldwide company that we have people all over the world. I forget the number, but like definitely every continent and a lot of countries. And the founders, when I started, were both in Singapore. So there was kind of like a hub of people that were living in Singapore and working on Supabase, but then people that live all over the world that also work with us. So, but yeah, people are constantly traveling. Like it's very cool because it's not just a remote company; it's very much an async company, and so it's not just that you can work from anywhere in the world; it's that you can work from anywhere in the world and for any time zone and it's nice that everyone can kind of just take on their own things and do it at their own pace, and then come back together. So like the founder was in Singapore, and then he was over in France, and I think they spent some time in the US as well. So we don't have many meetings that kind of mandatory meetings that happen every week or whatever, because everyone is constantly in different time zones and changing when they're working. So it's really nice that that it works quite well, having those kind of async processes where everyone's quite autonomous with what they're working on, and then just can kind of sync up when they need to.
Yeah, we kind of function the same way. We just both happen to live in the same city, Kaitlin and I. So it's like, well, yeah, we have one team member, Eric, who's he's like kind of fulfilled that worldwide requirement for us by working from all these different countries himself. So he'll work from, where he's been in Colombia 1 month, and then he was talking about going to Germany, he's going to Japan, wherever. Yeah. I don't know where he just got back from somewhere.
I think it was Spain, maybe.
Yeah, and even he lived in Denver as well too for a year. So yeah.
I think that it's one of the good things that has come out of COVID. I think a lot of companies are moving this way, right? Like, oh look, we don't need to have 10 meetings and take up 10 to 13 hours of people's times every week. And do your work when you can. Just get it done. We'll not
definitely.
Be about.
And that was definitely one of the contributing factors to me moving across to being a developer advocate as well. So prior to that, I was working as a software engineer. I wanted to be a developer advocate for a long time, but one of the big reasons that I thought that I couldn't was because prior to COVID time, there was a lot of travel that was required. And so a lot of speaking at conferences, a lot of traveling around and talking at meetups and things like that. And, wanting to spend a lot of time with my family and have that part of my life as well just made me feel like I couldn't be a developer advocate. And so when COVID hit and kind of took away you even legally being allowed to do that, I felt like that was kind of a good opportunity to prove that that you could do this developer advocacy stuff without needing to travel around. And I think it opened up a lot of doors that weren't open before.
Very cool.
I hear you on
and
that.
You like built this little office, right? Was it like a prefab thing?
It's funny because
we'll share later, but tell us about it.
It's so there's actually a little a promo video of behind the scenes of this office, which Kaitlin has done an amazing job putting together. Which will be coming out soon. It's like a cool 90s like MTV Crib style tour of my office. It
very faithfully authentic, like it very faithfully replicates MTV Cribs to the perfect degree.
Nailed it. Absolutely nailed it.
I had a lot of fun with it.
But it was like I filmed it just before like this office finally got finished. And so in the video, like it is super, super ghetto. But right now it's actually like really nice and clean. Like these curtains weren't in. So I had this like backdrop behind me to kind of block out the natural light, block out all of the lovely environment of what's outside this office. And I had to like step over these like cables and things and kind of like, go through a maze, an intricate maze to get into my office, which is all very fun to watch in the video. But now it's like this really, really nice office with nice curtains. There's nothing behind me other than the curtains. So this is an external office that I built. So this is outside my house that I built because of the COVID thing and because of, working for Supabase now. Like, I'm definitely not going back to the office. I think I'll be working from home for a while because there is no office. Yeah. And even if that office was in Singapore, it's probably a longer flight to get to Singapore than I'm willing to do every day with my daily commute. And so, I decided since I'm probably going to be working from home permanently, I should build a little space to do that more comfortably. And so, this is a little box that I built. Or not I built, that someone else built outside my house. And it's slowly it's just been in like a under construction zone for like, 3 months or something.
Mine's the same way.
I've been working in here for like 2 months. And so, it's kind of just been like make everything in the frame behind me look clean and finished, and then anything outside of that frame was just chaos.
Yeah.
And so you get to see a little bit of that in this behind the scenes MTV Cribs little video of my office. So watch out for that one.
Yeah, I was going to say the same. Everything in my office, if it's not in this vision, is just who knows what it's a disaster.
Don't pan over.
Somebody did ask in the chat real quick. I know we probably got time for one more question. What is Supabase written in? I thought that was an interesting question. Do you know what it's written in? Is it the repo seems to say the repo is like 74% TypeScript. So is it written in TypeScript?
Yeah, so the Supabase JS library, which kind of pulls together everything that you use on the client side of Supabase, that's all, or the majority of that is written in TypeScript. All of the SQL stuff is written in SQL. Okay. All of the Postgres SQL-y stuff is written in SQL. But then the other piece that's kind of important to Supabase is that real-time server, and that is written in Elixir. So any of that kind of WebSocket-y stuff, anything that's dealing with real-time things that are happening in the database and then doing something with it, that's all an Elixir server, because it is very, very efficient at doing that and over a large number of clients, sort of built for that kind of stuff. And so, I haven't had much experience with the Elixir side of stuff. Had a little bit of experience with the Postgres side of stuff, but mainly spend most of my time in the TypeScript and Supabase JS library.
Cool. All right. Well, I don't know if we need too much more than that. That was a lot of good stuff. Kaitlin, did you have anything else?
Just some final shout outs. Make sure you check out Jon's course. I dropped a link. And also here is the link again to maybe win a free month of Level Up Pro. It's no strings attached. Just you give us your name and your email. You can say you don't want emails from us, and we will choose a winner and email you directly. Here's the link.
All right. Just filling out the form to get my free month.
If there's any other questions, you know where to find us. We're all over the place.
Yeah.
Social account.
The Discord.
And if you have any questions while you're going through the course, if you hit any problems or have any questions about how you might take something deeper, feel free to hit me up on Twitter. Is probably the best place. So I'm at Jon Meyers _IO, I think. I recently changed this, so let's just confirm. Jon Meyers _IO. Feel free to send me a message or comment on any of my stuff, and I will get back to you and help you out.
Cool. Awesome. Well, thanks so much, Jon. Thanks for coming on. I know you're in a special state of sleep deprivation that parents can definitely understand right now.
Yeah, I'm in that flow state right now between, delirious, too tired to quite function, and I'm in the sweet spot.
Yeah, I know.
Adrenaline, maybe. All right, thank you all for hanging out. I hope you check out the course. Stay in touch, and don't be a stranger.
All right. Well, we will see you next month for next month's course drop. Yeah, we'll have some little tidbits along the way about this month, what that's going to be. So not really quite ready to divulge that just yet.
Yes. Little secret. All right. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Thanks, Jon.
Thank you.